Hey everyone, Marathon Hurdler back with some more Final Fantasy VIII. Last time we played some Triple Triad and found out how we did in the SeeD exam, and today, after figuring out that we passed, we need to get ready for this inauguration ball. So let's get up, all done up in our Sunday best, and hit that party. Yeah, not looking too bad. It's fits better than I think it fits Selfie, but nonetheless, let's go ahead and hit this big inauguration ball. It has to be a pretty big deal. If SeeD is the cash cow, I imagine they're going to be going all out. And look at that. That's way nicer than any dance I've been to. We got servers walking around with drinks and everything. And I can't imagine that's an alcoholic beverage, right? Squall is like, what, 17, I think, in this game? Maybe 18 max? So unless the drinking rules are just really lax in the world of Final Fantasy VIII, and who knows, maybe they are, that can't be an alcoholic drink. Yeah, I guess we are SeeDs now. No, you still haven't earned the handshake, though. Yeah. That's not how Squall rolls. Exactly. I like how Zell talks as if he just, like, knows Squall so well. Yeah, that's super typical of you. And here comes Selfie. Now, I think if you haven't... Huh. Well, I guess so. Earlier, if you remember, we talked to Selfie at the quad, and we said we were going to join the Garden Festival Committee. But for some reason, I thought that if you did that, it wouldn't... She wouldn't ask you that here, but apparently I was completely wrong about that. But yeah, let's go ahead and join the Garden Festival Committee. Why not? Exactly. Squall needs some more school spirit. Nice moon. Ooh, shooting star. Don't see those too often these days. I saw it first. It's my wish. I get to have the bush and that shooting star. No, not you. Oh, she's coming over here. Squall. Squall. Well, let's see how much game Squall has. He's so used, because it's clearly he's attracted to this girl. So, and apparently she's attracted to him as well. So yeah, we'll see what kind of game Squall has. We haven't really seen him in too many situations where he's had to use his game yet. Quistis doesn't count. Not saying anything. The strong silent type. I see that approach. And she's playing right into the trap, going right after him. And he won't even acknowledge her, see? He's not even going to say anything. Or now he will. Oh, so humble. Squall, I'm sure you're a great dancer. Yeah, that didn't really seem to do exactly what he wanted to do. Put her off a little bit. I like that, Squall. I see it. He has sneaky games. What he's got. He's not so direct with it, but it seems like. But he knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing. Or maybe he really just can't dance. That's pretty awful, Squall. He can't even keep his hands in the right place. It's atrocious. And now he's just getting whiplash. Yeah, I think he's just... I don't know. I think you should have just let him go. He clearly has no idea what he's doing. And now he's bumping into other people. Did that girl have a fur jacket on? Or a leather fur jacket? Maybe I was just seeing things. But of course, Squall magically picks up the dance skills like 2 seconds into the song. That makes complete sense. I smell a ringer here. It's like those guys who you play basketball with, and the first game they pretend like they're terrible, but then the next game they're just like draining threes from like 30 feet and crossing everyone over and everything. I don't like those guys. They're not very fun. And Squall's a ringer on the dance floor, so minus 10 points for him. But I guess karma came back to bite him because he got left alone on the dance floor. See, that's why you don't pretend you can't dance. She went to someone who she didn't have to worry about teaching any dance skills to. Ah, so he was a ringer. He knew that dance the entire time. Quistis knows. Well, this is awkward. Well, I don't know if that's the same thing. Exactly. Exactly. If one of my professors just came up to me and just stood behind me, didn't say anything, I'd be creeped out too. Okay, finally we get to the point here. So she has an order for us. Gotta go to the secret area. What? Say what? Something seems sketchy about this. Yeah, what are you aiming after? Nope, Squall. I don't think that's what she's aiming after. Yeah, no, I don't think that's what she wants. See, she's trying to flirt with you there, Squall. Her last order. Something about this whole situation just doesn't smell right. But yeah, sorry, I went through that a little bit quickly there. But yeah, Squall is just as confused as I am. But nonetheless, we need to go ahead and get changed and meet Quistis at the training center. So as always, to change clothes, you just go to the bed, and there you go. So now I think we actually have to run. I think we might have to actually run all the way to the training center. I'm not gonna equip my GFs quite yet. I'm gonna wait till I get to the training center. Spoiler alert: we will be running through the training center, and the training center has some monsters in there, so we will need to equip our GFs eventually. But for now, let's just run over there. And you can't go in any of these areas. If you talk to them, they'll be like, "Oh, it's after curfew. What are you doing out here?" So yeah, just head straight to the training center. Not that far of a run. And there's Quistis. Nope, I actually have not. We will be soon though, but not yet. Not yet. Oh, is that so? Nope. I think we're just gonna skip this. We'll talk more about status junctioning later. That's actually not the way I think is the best to fight the T-Rexaur, but again, we'll talk about that once that time comes. So what I'm going to do right now is take a quick second to move some GFs around and whatnot, and I will be right back. Okay, I'm back. One quick thing I wanted to point out, and I'll list this in the video description as well, but when we last fought, or the last time we fought a battle, which was a couple episodes ago, we learned the card ability for Quetzalcoatl, so now I want to learn card mod, which is going to be vital for us in terms of getting some useful spells early in the game. I also have Shiva learning Ice Magic Refine. I'll follow that up by learning Vitality Junction, but that won't be for a little bit. So for now, I'll just focus on Ice Magic Refine. For Ifrit, I'm still working on HP Junction. And for Siren, you definitely want to start by learning Life Magic Refine. I don't think there's really anything else worth learning at this moment, so I would go ahead and do that. And I just split the GFs up kind of randomly, and I move the magic around. Doesn't really matter how you order them at this point because we don't have any magic to junction. Although that will be changing in just a minute. So with that said, let's go ahead and head to the training center. Now, I don't think that there are any enemies in this room. I don't think. I can't remember for sure. I think there are only enemies in the room to the right or the room to the left. So I'm just going to go right. I guess I'll go the other way on the way back. And here we are fighting our first enemy. So there are two enemies that you can fight in the training center. You have these guys, rats, and then you have the enemy that Quistis was referring to earlier, which are T-Rexaur. We aren't ready to take on a T-Rexaur just quite yet, but we can take these guys on. Yeah. Now what I want to do with these guys are a couple of things. One, I want to demonstrate the card ability that we just got for Quetzalcoatl. So what you do is you just do some damage to the enemy, and then you use the card ability, and you have a chance to turn them into a card. The more damage you do to the enemy, the more likely it is that you will card them. So it's basically just like Pokemon mechanics. Squall makes for a really useful character to weaken up these enemies because you can control whether or not he has a critical hit every single time. Now, I don't know, I had a chance to get some scan spells everywhere. I'm starting to wish I would have done that now because I think I could hit this guy one more time and still be okay, but I'm not sure. But we don't have to worry about that. Okay, so as you saw, I turned them into a rat card. And the nice thing about that is when you use the card ability on the enemy, you don't get any experience, but you do get AP. And so that's going to be really important later in the game that's going to be important not just later in the game, but actually very soon, when we're trying to level up, or when we're trying to get abilities for our GFs without leveling up. But what I actually want to do now is I want to draw 100 silent spells, not for each character, but total between the two. As you can see, it is not a very fast process, but I want to get 100 silent spells across the two characters. And the reason I want to do this is it's a decent spell for junctioning to your magic stat, and there's a spell that I really want to draw in the battle coming up pretty soon here. So having a silent spell would be useful to that end. For the most part, I try to avoid junctioning in the early game, just because as you can see here, the characters are slow, the magic stat isn't very high, so it takes a while to get or to draw most spells. But this is just a spell that you're really going to need in the very near future for some things that I want to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw 100 of those silent spells across the two characters. I might also draw 100 sleep spells across both characters. It'll just depend on how patient I'm doing, but I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then once I'm done, I will come back. Okay, I got all the spells that I was looking for there. I went ahead and drew another 100 sleep spells in addition to the 100 silent spells that I picked up. So yeah, we're just going to go ahead and take this guy on and finish this battle out then. One attack that this guy has, which is kind of annoying, is he has a sleeping gas attack, which he's using again. And since I don't have any resistance, it's almost always going to put me to sleep. I got a little bit lucky there and then put Quistis to sleep, but yeah, it can be pretty annoying. There we go. So Quistis is going up there, and she already had a draw command in there, so that's why she drew there. But now, what we want to do is we want to try to carve this guy, and hopefully we should be able to do that without any damage here. Yep, there we go. And so I'll be able to show you here just what happens when you card all the enemies on the screen. As you can see, we get no experience. We do get items though, and then we also get AP. So that's going to be pretty important for us in the near future when we want to try to get some abilities for our GFs. But what I'm going to do here real quick is heal up and then we'll move on. And I think I'll probably just edit out any extra battles that I run into here. But I might as well go ahead and show this off since I'm here anyway. What I'm going to do is, well, actually it's back up here. So what Quistis was saying earlier was she was talking about using this status attack junction, which is actually on Squall. So what I want to do then is I'm going to give all of my silences to Quistis, but then take all of the sleeps from Quistis. So what we're going to do here is we're going to junction silence, or not silence, sleep to our status attack, while we junction silence to my magic stat. And you can see it's a decent boost. It's like a 12-point boost, which at this point in the game is a big difference. So yeah, I'm just going to keep going on. If I run any other battles, I'll just edit them out. Okay, so I lied. This guy is a T-Rexaur. He's kind of a... yeah. As you can see, Quistis is warning us, like, you gotta be careful here. Sometimes it's, like you said, sometimes it's better to run. But let's go ahead and try to take this guy on. What I want to do here first is put him to sleep using that stat attack with Squall. And as you can see, he's now asleep. So what we're going to do next, and this is what we're going to be doing when we fight him actually, is I'm going to, in the near future, draw 100 blind spells, and then I can just jump in my blind, structure blind to my attack there. But since we ran into him now, I figured I'd go ahead and show this off so that later when I'm doing some AP grinding, I won't actually have to come back and show off how I did this. So what we're going to do is he has a ton of HP, so you really don't need to worry about doing too much damage to him. Yeah, I think he has over 10,000 HP even at this point in the game. So even with our minimum levels here, he has just a ton of HP. So the way you get around that is, again, by using the card ability, because you can actually use the card ability pretty early on. I think you can use it after you've taken away as little as 15% of the enemy's HP. Now, does it work very often when you do that? Not particularly, but it usually doesn't take more than 2 or 3 attacks to be able to card him, or 2 or 3 attempts to be able to card him. So, yeah, this is going to take a little while, but I want to go ahead and show this off here, just so I don't have to try to show this off later. So we're just going to keep using whatever spells we have access to, and now that Quistis no longer has these spells, I'm going to have her just start carding now. We haven't done a lot of damage to this guy, so it's really unlikely to work, but at least this way I give myself a chance to be able to do this within a reasonable amount of time. So yeah, the T-Rexaur, even though he's really strong, is not that tough. It's just that it takes a while to be able to whittle down his HP. There are other ways of doing it, and I'll explain a little bit of that once we get to that point. There are some easier ways to deal damage to him at a quicker rate, but we just don't have access to those abilities yet, so we're kind of stuck doing it the old-fashioned way, so to speak. This is probably the last time when I'll be using magic like I am right now. And yeah, you can card him at this stage, but it just takes, yeah, I can woke up, so we're going to sleep, and then we're just going to keep doing that. So in theory, you could, if you really wanted to, or in theory, if you don't have in theory, you could just do this if you only had sleep spells, but I think it'll be easier once I have blind spells jump into my attack, because then I won't have to worry about that. And really, blind is the only thing you have to worry about for the T-Rexaur, because even though he did hit Squall there, for the most part, blind is actually a pretty devastating status element in this game, in that it's really hard to hit your opponent when you have the blind status on. I know in some games the blind status is bugged, or maybe it didn't really have as much, or didn't really do as much as you might hope, but in this game, Like, if you get hit with a blind status ailment, you basically miss like 90% of your attack. It's kind of ridiculous. And unfortunately, this guy is taking a little bit longer than I would like to be able to card, but at the same time, I don't want to edit it out because I want people to be able to see just how long this can take, or I don't want to have to skip forward and say, well, I did this much damage to him, especially since I don't have access to the scan spell, which really is on me. I should have drawn at least a couple of scan spells that I had the opportunity earlier, but it's fine. We'll get them all the same. It's just gonna take a couple of minutes here and a lot of carding attempts. But he has woken up again, so we'll go ahead and put him back to sleep and then go from there. Alright, so we should be getting close to that 2,000 damage threshold. That's, from what I've heard and what I've read, and based on my own experiences, it seems like 2,000 damage is about the minimum threshold for when you can card the enemy, or a T-Rexaur at least. And based on what his max HP is, I'm guessing that's about 20% of his HP. So once you've done about that much damage, you should be okay. There we go. And as you can see, I didn't even do a third of his HP. I didn't even take off a third of his HP. It took a lot of attempts, but once we get a little bit more power, it doesn't actually take that long to be able to card him. And for doing so, we get 10 AP plus a Dino Bone, which will be useful later. But yeah, that actually worked out really well. I was able to show off all the battles that I wanted to show off, and the secret area is right back here, so let's figure out what Quistis wanted to talk about. Or not talk about, if she's trying to make a move on Squall. Let's find out. I mean, look at these other couples here. They're clearly making out or just doing whatever. So, yeah, maybe Quistis is just trying to get a little action. We'll find out. Now, one thing I don't understand, and if someone can explain this to me, that'd be fantastic. I don't understand how you have this vantage point or this view for the guard. Maybe it's in, like, if you think about the direction or the way we kind of ran, it doesn't seem like it would, this room would face you directly towards the garden. But maybe I'm not great at directions, so that maybe it's just my lack of navigational skills that's throwing me off there. But it seems like Quistis actually does want to talk. And something seems to have her down. Cheer up, Quistis, it's okay. What could possibly be that bad? Oh, she got fired. Oh, that's not that much of a demotion. I don't know, I almost feel like getting paid as a SeeD might be better than getting paid as an instructor. Right? When you want to put more of your resources into the SeeDs themselves and the instructors. Well, yeah, I don't really know what you want Squall to say. Exactly. Like, this point can't be emphasized enough. You were his teacher. It's just, that type of relationship makes it hard to have a personal connection like this. I don't know, it just, I mean, I know they're close in age. I think Quistis is 18 and Squall is 17. But maybe that's why she lacked leadership qualities. 18-year-olds aren't really equipped to be full-fledged teachers, especially of kids a year younger than them. That just, something about that does not sound right. And clearly Quistis was just trying to get way too personal with her students. I don't know. Then again, she apparently was pretty ambitious. I mean, being a SeeD at age 15, it's like a child soldier there. That's pretty ridiculous. It took Squall until 17. Cypher can't get his act together, and he's 18. So nothing else, she's still an impressive SeeD, if not an instructor. But I think where you went wrong is trying to have a personal relationship with your students. That's what they tell us as TAs, right? We're not, the first thing you tell you, don't have a personal relationship with your students. It just makes things way too complicated. It's like the only rule that you have to follow as a TA. Don't have personal relationships with your students. And apparently Quistis didn't get the memo. Yeah. What is Squall supposed to say about your problems? It seems like you kind of are. You just said 2 seconds ago, is that all you're going to say? And now you're saying, I don't want you to say anything. Make up your mind, Quistis. What do you want? Oh, that might be a little harsh, Squall. I don't know if I go that far. I'm surprised Quistis didn't get more angry at that. That's kind of a harsh thing to say to someone. Yeah, that may be true, but you don't have to be such a jerk about it. Fair enough, but... Jeez. Yeah, Quistis doesn't even know what to say. Well, you may be a failed instructor, but I really don't think your problem is that people wouldn't listen to you gripe about your personal problems. I think the problem is more that you were talking to other people about your personal problems. I just don't think she's getting. I don't think she's getting a lesson here, guys. I don't think she's quite put it all together yet. But yeah, that's all there was there. So now we just have to head on out. So I guess I might as well go ahead and show off the left path here. Nothing particularly interesting there, but okay, that was just another grat there. But yeah, there's nothing really interesting on this path. Just another way to go around. Okay, we fought some more grats there, but in the process, what we did was learn the HP junction ability for Ifrit there. So what I want to do now is, let's see, I think I'm going to have him work on the Strength plus 20 ability. And I'll explain in just, I think I've already explained how the Strength bonus and everything works, so no need to really go into more detail about that, but by learning the Strength plus 20 ability, I can eventually learn the Strength bonus ability. Not particularly important at this point, but if you're someone who wants to do your level grinding earlier in the game, you might consider starting to work on that ability now. And apparently that girl from earlier, the one we saw in the infirmary, is in danger. He seemed to know who not only I was, but also Quistis. But now we have to save her from this guy and these random 3 other people we just showed up with. Now this is why I drew all those sleep and silence spells earlier. Now what we want to do is we want to have Squall put that ringleader up there to sleep. It can take a little, the Grinaldo to sleep, while Quistis is going to draw a spell from him. Great, we did it on the first try. Sometimes he can be a little resistant to it, but yeah, we put him to sleep. And now Quistis is going to start drawing the spell that we want, which is Blind. As you can see, it is, even with the silent spell junction to our magic status, we're not getting a lot of those spells. The maximum you can get in any one draw is, yeah, I didn't. Damn it. Alright. So, but the most you can draw at any one time is 9, and we're kind of hovering around the middle there, which indicates that we really haven't, our strength isn't, or our magic stat isn't quite high enough yet. But if it's this slow now, you can imagine how slow it would be without the magic, without silent structure to our magic stat. So what I want to do right now is I'm going to be having Quistis draw blind spells while I have Squall work on these smaller enemies. You want to make sure that you kill the Raldos before you kill the Grinaldo. If you don't, I think the Raldos go like berserk or something, and then they just like, yeah, they just go berserk, and it's not a good scenario for you that happen. One option you have, and one thing I probably should have considered doing here, was that you can actually use, what was I gonna say? You can actually use a summon, in particular Shiva, and that is actually pretty useful here. And I think you can actually one-shot almost all of these guys in doing so. And I probably should have done that, but I wasn't thinking, and I'm just so used to not using GFs that I just didn't think to even put that ability on. I'm still in the mode of my test run here, because once you get past like the first I don't even know, like the first 20th of the game, like I don't even know what to call how far we're at on the game at this point, but like, this is really the only battle where I would even consider using a GF. And after this, we're just gonna be so strong after we've done a little bit of AP grinding that you won't even have to worry about getting or using your GF anymore. And they're just gonna be completely obsolete. So I just got so used to not having it junctioned that I didn't even consider to use it in this battle. It probably would have been pretty useful because these Waddles do take more attacks to kill than I thought. For some reason I thought they only had like 200 HP. Maybe they do. Maybe it's nuts. I'm not paying attention right now. I'm really doing a bad job of that. I mean, this guy really isn't that powerful, but it's just kind of a nuisance having to deal with him constantly interrupting my drawing with his attacks. So let's try to put him to sleep one more time. We shouldn't take us too much longer to get the spells that we want. But yeah, we want to go ahead and try to put him to sleep one more time so that we don't have to worry about him as we're drawing spells. And how far are we along in that process? 63, so we still have a little ways to go. So let's try to get him to sleep there. And we should be in good shape after that. But yeah, for the most part, I really like using blind for my T-Rexaur fights because, you know, it can be a pain to try to keep them asleep. And I suppose it can be useful if you're using a GF again, but I typically prefer not to just because GFs take forever. So if you're not going to use a GF, blind is the way to go because then you're going to have everyone attack and not have to worry about not have to worry about him waking up and then annihilating your party. So yeah, and the problem with casting blind is that you have to actually have enough blind spells to cast, and depending on how many T-Rexaurs you plan to fight, that could lead you to having some limited options in the future. So yeah, I just want to try to avoid that. And unfortunately, this is taking quite a while, so I don't want to edit out boss fights. So but I assure you that this will be the last time that we have a boss fight that takes this long. But this is partially why I don't like. But this is part of the reason why I don't like draw grinding early in the game, just because your magic stats way too low. You're not even getting the maximum spells you can get at one time, and then to make matters worse, their characters are slow, so then it just takes forever for their turns to show up. This boss fight really shouldn't take this long, but it's going to take much longer than it needs to, simply because our magic stats too low to really effectively draw spells from it. This will be the last time I draw spells, probably until near the end of this run. So I assure you this is the only time you'll have to actually see me doing all this in the painfully slow fashion that I am doing it. Yep, okay, good. So we got another Waddle on there. How close are we? Okay, I think we actually are good. I think we're good with the flying spells. Yeah, Squall already has a couple, so let's just go all out then and try to finish off this. We want to take out the Waddle first, because if you take out the Granado first, I think the Waddles go into like some berserk mode where they just gain all this attack, and yeah, that won't end well for you if you go down that path. So the pieces jumping in on the attack, it should speed up the process a bit here. Yeah, we still need one more attack to finish off the Waddle. And as you can see, I haven't even had to heal yet. Like the bosses in the early portion of this game are just really, really weak. And after this portion of the game, we're going to get access to some abilities that are really going to make any future enemies we fight just kind of a joke. So yeah, that's one thing about this game that I didn't realize when I first played it. Probably because I didn't know how to use the mechanics as well as I should have. This is, I think, the second or third role-playing I played, and obviously it was a lot different than Final Fantasy VII, which was the first one that I played. So I actually struggled a bit with this one because I thought that you were supposed to be leveling up a lot, and I leveled up way too much early on in the game, and by the end of the game I had 3 characters at level 100. But the other characters I didn't even touch. I think I leveled up like Squall, Zell, like, I can't remember who the third person I leveled up was. But then I had like Quistis at like level 10 or something ridiculous, and yeah, it wasn't a good balance. It really wasn't. But once you know what you're doing, this game is actually pretty easy. So yeah, this is like the only boss fight that's gonna take. This boss fight's taking almost 10 minutes now, or something like that, which is ridiculous. But most of the boss fights we'll be doing with from now on will only take a minute tops. It's ridiculous. So fear not, you won't have to listen to me drone on about, you know, random stuff and be with these boss fights for too much longer. But with all that said, we finally got the guy, so yeah, no experience for boss fights. We get some wizard stones, which will be useful in the near future. And then we also get 14 AP, which allows us to learn the Ice Refine ability, which is perfect timing. I really wanted that ability for the next portion of the game, and I'll talk in a little bit, well, actually pretty shortly here, about how I'm going to be using that. But we were able to save her, and I don't know who these guys are, but they're going to take her away, so yeah, that makes... I mean, I don't know why they couldn't have helped us while we were fighting these guys, but yeah, who was that? They seem to know who we were, but, I guess it's not a big deal. It's probably just some random NPC that we'll never see again, so let's just move on with the game then. So all we gotta do now is we're going to run down here, and now Quistis is gonna try to tell us off, but like, even then, that's not really telling us off. Exactly, like you're still engaging him in the debate. You should just be... I feel like the issue with Squall right here is not that he doesn't want to talk to Quistis, because that's reasonable. I just think he was being kind of rude about it, and apparently Quistis was more worried about the former than the latter. So, oh well. I guess that's just a difference of opinion we have there. But I don't want to talk about it. Oh, nice. That means nothing to me because I don't know exactly where my room is. Fair enough. Yeah, all that means is once we go running down here, we'll be in a new room. So this is our new dormitory. We get a single bed. Kind of small still, but not bad. Yeah, I think we've had a long enough day. Might as well go ahead and go to sleep. Get a little R&R. I mean, we had a really busy... That was a long day. We had, what, a fight against Cypher, 2 exams, and then a mission, a little rendezvous with Quistis. And now we have our first SeeD mission, literally the next day. They really don't play around, but... Alright, we're going to Timber, and... Alright, well, don't worry, we'll get there. Don't need to rush me. But yeah, if you look at the desk, there was a magazine, and it was a Weapons Monthly. And I don't think I talked about the last one we got for beating Alvaret, but I'll quickly just show it off. Basically, what the Weapons Monthly do is they show you different upgrades you can get for your weapons, and there are 2 ways you can upgrade your weapons in the game, or there's 2 ways you can get upgradable weapons to show up for you in this game. One, you can get a magazine, which will show you, hey, you need these ingredients. Or, if you already have the ingredients, the magazine, or if you go to a weapon store, you will have the option to upgrade weapons. For the most part, I just ignore upgrading weapons because a lot of the items you need for the weaker upgrades are better used elsewhere, and they don't really add that much to your strength. You do want to get the ultimate weapons, but we won't be getting those until much later in the game, and for the most part, you just don't need to deal with it, so I'm just not even going to deal with it at all for the most part. But I think that's enough for today, so next time we will begin our... Well, actually, we won't begin our first SeeD mission next time. Next time we're going to get our first SeeD mission, but there are some side quests and some other little things that I want to talk about next time, along with some AP grinding I'm going to do. So I'll talk about all that next time. But this has been Marathon Hurdler, and I want to thank you as always for checking out my videos, and hopefully I'll see you next time.